What's up, YouTube? This is Two Off for TV. All right, so shout out to Ticket TV for his video talking about this. He did a live stream earlier talking about this, and this shit got under my skin. Really fucking, it really pissed me off, man. Um, as we all know, since 2017, since his stint with the Celtics, man, it's been real bad for Isaiah Thomas, man. It's been real fucking bad. He suffered that hip injury during the 2017 playoffs, where he's never been the same player, um, and he lost millions and millions of dollars because of the injury. And he was traded to the Cavaliers. That didn't work out, and he's just been bouncing around the league since then. I can't even remember the teams he's been with. I think he played with the Pistons. I can't remember all the teams he's played with since then. It's been ring around the rosy for this dude. Um, he was traded to the Clippers in that deal with Marcus Morris, who was traded to Clippers from the Knicks, but ultimately he was waived. And right now he doesn't have a job. Okay, but he's only 31 years old. He still has something left in the tank. No, he's not the same guy, but he has some value. Okay, he has some value in this league that values a 3-point shot that much. He could help somebody. Okay, this guy has playoff experience. Um, he could help somebody, man. Um, I'm extremely disappointed at the Boston Celtics, and I'm also extremely pissed at how the media is wording shit. Um, I get irritated at the fact that if somebody like LeBron James decides to, instead of re-sign with the Cavaliers, he goes to Miami. If Kevin Durant, instead of staying with OKC, he goes to the Warriors. If Kawhi, instead of staying with the Raptors or going to where the media wanted to, push him to go or pressure him to go, which is Lakers, he went to Clippers. There's always this negative reaction to that. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, well, how dare you go where you want to go? You go where we want you to go, nigger. Okay? Now, never mind my personal feelings about it. And I'm going to tell you why in this situation. Because even if I had an issue with LeBron going to Miami, or, as a fan, I felt a certain way about about Durant going to Golden State, my reasons for being irritated or mad are far different from their reasons for being mad. You know what I'm saying? Like, they look at us as property. They want to control us and tell us what the fuck to do. That's what they get their kicks off of. All right? But when they do the same actions, all right, when they don't show loyalty, oh, it's just a good business move. Isaiah Thomas, he doesn't fit into the our scheme of things. That's what Danny Ainge said. Doesn't fit into our schemes, and you know, um, it's just, it's a good business decision. Isaiah's lost a step and he's not as explosive, and it's just not the same player. Man, fuck y'all. Okay, what about loyalty? Hmm? What about I don't want to say compassion or feel like he's a charity case, man, but this guy played at a superstar level for 2 years. Really, the last year, but an all-star level for 2 years. He found a home with Boston. He clicked. All right, that team went all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals with this guy dragging that team on his back. Okay, Isaiah Thomas started off with the Sacramento Kings. He was a fine player. Had a stint with the Phoenix Suns. He was good, but it was when he went to the Boston Celtics in 2005 that he really found a home and a team that could utilize him. When they built that team around him, um, they really did something. They was doing something in Boston, man. In 2000, did I say 2005? I said 2005, I meant 2015. In 2015, um, he was an all-star. He was an all-star both years he was with the Boston Celtics. For both years that he was there, he averaged 25.5 points and 6 assists, and he shot 37% from three in both years. But it was that second year, man, that he really put on a show. All right, he averaged 28.9 points per game that second year, which is the highest scoring average ever for a player under 5'10". All right, he averaged 28.9 points. They were comparing him like to Calvin Murphy as the game's greatest little man or a guy under 5'10". Um, he was noted for having these big fourth quarters. He was like a clutch performer. He was having all these brilliant offensive performances that year. He broke a Celtics record for consecutive games scoring 20 points, at least 20 points. The previous record was held by John Havlicek, which was 40 games in a row. He broke that record. He did it for 43 games in a row. Earlier in that season, in a game against the Memphis Grizzlies, he had like 44 points, but he scored 36 points in the second half. It was a game against the Miami Heat where he set a franchise record for the Celtics, where he had 52 points, but the franchise record, he scored 29 points in the fourth quarter. All right, he was just having these phenomenal performances. He was, I think, the Eastern Conference Player of the Month in January 2017. I did a little research before I did this video. He was the January 2017 Player of the Month in January 2017. He averaged almost 33 points per game, which is the second highest scoring average for any player for the Boston Celtics in a month, behind only Larry Bird and Paul Pierce. Okay, he led that team to, what was it, 53 wins, I think, that year. All right. And in the first round against the Chicago Bulls, he led the Boston Celtics. Now, I remember this painfully because we were up 2-0. He led the Boston Celtics from a 2-0 deficit to come back to winning six. They won 4 games in a row. In that series, Isaiah Thomas had to overcome two personal. One was a tragedy. One was a obstacle. He lost a tooth, I think, in game one. He had to have dental surgery to have that tooth repaired. Came back and still played in game two. And then I think it was game three or game four of that series where his sister was tragically killed in a car accident. Nobody would have blamed him for not going out there and playing, but he went out there and played any fucking way. He showed the heart and the uh, the passion, and the determination that you see in a fucking champion. He played like a fucking champion that fucking year. He went out there and played. I think he had like 33 points. He shot brilliantly, and they won the game and they won the series. And the next round they played the Washington Wizards. All right, I think that series went to 7. They won in 7. In game two, I think it was Isaiah Thomas scored 53 points in that game. All right, it was in the Eastern Conference Finals when the wheels started falling off. After he played the first 2 games, he suffered that hip injury. And ultimately, the Boston Celtics lost that series to the Cavaliers in 5. But that was the beginning of the end. He suffered that hip injury. And Danny Ainge and the Boston Celtics used that as an excuse. They used it as an excuse not to pay him the max contract. And ultimately, as we all know, he got traded to Cleveland in exchange basically for Kyrie Irving. All that playing, all that loyalty, all that heart and hustle, you know, uh, playing as hard as he could possibly. All of that was rewarded with him being traded and losing millions of dollars to go to a team that he was not a good fit for. Where was the loyalty with the Boston Celtics organization then? Nowhere. Okay? Ever since then, Isaiah Thomas has bounced around, you know what I'm saying, team to team. And now he doesn't have a job, and Danny Ainge says, well, he doesn't fit into the scheme of he doesn't fit with our organization. And I'm like, you know what, man? I'm really surprised at Danny Ainge because a lot of these dudes, they're businessmen. They never really played basketball. But Danny Ainge, you played basketball, Okay, you know what it's like for these dudes with injuries. You know what I'm saying? You should know that. Okay, where's your sense of loyalty? I don't get it, man. I don't understand it. It does. It makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. How many times have teams look? One thing I say about the Chicago Bulls, and I'm not comparing Isaiah Thomas to this guy. All right, I'm not. But Scottie Pippen came back and finished his career with the Chicago Bulls in the 2003-2004 season. All right, didn't play that many games, but he came back. Everybody knew Scottie Pippen was finished. All right, but out of a sense of loyalty for what he did for the organization, they signed him to a contract so he can retire as a Chicago Bull. Isaiah Thomas, I'm not saying that he's going to go in the Hall of Fame. He's not. He's not, man. He doesn't have the credentials for that. But if it wasn't for this hip injury, Isaiah Thomas may have played a couple of more years at a high level, and we'd be talking about him potentially being a Hall of Famer. You know what I'm saying? He was playing at that level. All right. He was just in his prime years because he's only 31 years old now. I'm just very bothered by this. But ever since the days of Bill Russell, the Celtics, at least their fans, the city, and now the organization, because I'm not going to say Red Auerbach was part of that because Red Auerbach was the first coach to really integrate his team. You know what I'm saying? He didn't give a fuck about race because before then, in the 1940s and 50s, there was this code in the NBA, this segregation code where you couldn't have more than one or two black players on your team, and if you did, they couldn't really get the ball much. They just wanted the white players to shine. So that gets forgotten. But Red Auerbach was the first guy to pretty much say fuck that shit. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to win championships. That's when you saw the rise of Bill Russell. That's when you saw the rise a couple years later of Elgin Baylor. You saw the rise of Wilt Chamberlain, and that's all she wrote. All right, Oscar Robertson, and they couldn't hold us back anymore after that. But I will say this, man. It's been a lot of players over the period of the decades that haven't gotten their due with the Boston Celtics for real, for real. Like one guy I thought that should have got more acclaim was JoJo White. JoJo White was an integral part of those championship teams in the 1970s, and it wasn't just Dave Cowens and John Havlicek. All right, JoJo White was just as instrumental to those championships as those guys were. Casey Jones never got the credit he deserved as the Boston Celtics head coach in the 1980s. You know what I'm saying? Um, but honestly, ever since Danny Ainge has taken the helm with the Boston Celtics, I don't know what to say, man. Like the case in point, look at the way they treated Ray Allen, man. They won't even they're considering not even retiring his number, right? You won't retire his number because y'all see he's a traitor. Y'all say that he was a traitor, but y'all had this man in trade talks the whole time he was there. The whole time that Ray Allen was a Boston Celtic, his name was in trade talks. All right? At least the Detroit Pistons had the fucking class to recognize what Dennis Rodman did for the organization. They retired his number 10, even though he, quote unquote, joined the enemy with the Chicago Bulls in the 1990s. You know why? Because that was after he fucking left the team. All right? That doesn't erase what he did with the Pistons organization. Thing about it, the Boston Celtics are a bunch of petty fucking motherfuckers, man. You know what? They mirror Danny Ainge so much because he was a petty motherfucker himself. Nobody in the NBA liked him when he was playing. You know what I'm saying? They didn't like his fucking ass. He was always a fucking weak link with the Boston Celtics. That's why eventually they traded his fucking ass. All right? And after he got traded, you know what I'm saying? He never really was a starter after that any fucking way. I think he had a couple of good years with the Sacramento Kings. But after that, he was a fucking bench rider with the Portland Trailblazers and the Phoenix Suns, a fucking bench riding bum. Fuck you.